This video is brought to you by the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. Go to patreon.com/discgolfnerd. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast. It has been a few months since I posted an episode, and just to fill you guys in, I actually filmed a full episode leading into the holidays, talking about Christmas movies and all kinds of stuff. I think it was in early December, and I just had too many technical glitches with it. It didn't sound right, it didn't look right. I tried to trim it all together, I wasn't happy with it, so I ended up scrapping that whole episode, and I was trying to kind of find the time to redo it throughout the holidays, but you guys know, so much stuff going on, even without like parties and stuff. Me and my wife were just busy doing our thing for the holidays, so I didn't get around to it. So we're just going to move on from that. You're just going to have to wait till next year to hear my pick 6 of my top 6 favorite Christmas movies. I'm sure you will be just chomping at the bit to hear what I have to say about Emmett Otter's Drug Band Christmas. But we're going to move on. We're going to talk about some other things. I am going to touch upon some of the stuff that I mentioned in that video, like some of the early season changes or off-season changes, like Eric Oakley leaving DD to Infinite, Matty O signing with Westside, all that kind of stuff. So we'll touch on a bunch of that. And, of course, the big news, which is Ricky is back to Trilogy. He has moved to Dynamic Discs. He's back throwing Latitude 64 plastic, and I'm stoked about it, as you guys might expect, and we're going to talk about that quite a bit as well coming up here a little bit later. And also, we have a Pick 9 that will be sponsored by Upper Park. They've been doing a little segment with the team, having them answer some personal questions to try to get to know people a little bit more with the team and some of the stuff that's not disc golf related. And I picked 9 different questions from there to submit to them. They actually asked me if I would do it in video form, and I thought if I'm going to set it all up to do it, I'll just do it as part of this episode, and then I'll trim that part out to send to them to use for social media or whatever their plans are, and it'll give you guys a chance to learn a few things about me that you might not know from a personal perspective, for what that's worth. Speaking of questions, my 2021 holiday giveaway should now be closed, but in the Google form for that, there was a lot of very nice comments from everybody, which I really appreciate. I will read every single one of those, and I appreciate you all very much. I messed up and forgot to put a place for you to put your name in the form. I just had email and address, so I don't have names for some of these awesome questions and really nice comments, and I really kind of goofed there. I don't know what happened. It had been a little while since I made a form, and I just completely spaced on that. So I did read every single one of those messages, though, and I will definitely go back and make sure I read everything that's in there before I pick a winner. That'll happen very soon, but definitely some really nice, well-thought-out questions in there that I think could break out into another question-and-answer episode and kind of, touch base with you guys, let you know my thoughts on a number of different topics as asked by you, my viewership. As always, if you have questions or topics or anything you want me to talk about on a future episode or a disc I should review or any of those stuff, leave it down in the comments down below. And of course, if you like the content, please make sure you're subscribed and consider supporting me on Patreon or buying a bag with my Disc Golf Nerd 10 code from Upper Park or any of the other ways that you can help support me. I would really appreciate it if you looked into that. If you like the channel and you want to help support me, help me continue to do what I do, you can very effectively help me along the way in a number of different ways. I might actually look into doing the channel memberships thing too. I got to look a little bit further into that. But if there's a way that I can set it up that you guys can pay like a couple bucks a month and get my whole catalog ad-free, I think that's possible. And if I can do that, I'm going to very strongly consider doing that. I think that would be a really great way that, something that's not exclusive to anybody. But if you have a couple bucks that you want to help support me, then you can kind of binge watch my stuff without having to worry about the ads. I think that would be a good system. Okay, what else is going on here? Upper Park, of course, is my main sponsor, Team Upper Park. I'm loving it. We just got word of some new colors that are coming out relatively soon. I can't talk to you guys too much about yet, but hopefully I will be showing that stuff off on the channel. So definitely stay tuned for that. Should be a lot of interesting things going on. And even though we're talking about, sponsorship changes and these big moves that everybody's making, for me personally, not really anything different to tell you guys about yet. I'm still under contract with Team Upper Park. I love it. I'm really happy with the relationship so far, and I can hope to continue it on. And Dynamic Discs continues to be awesome and hook us up with great plastic, and all the little companies or smaller companies that I work with as well. Lone Star Discs, Storm Discs. I'm sure I'm forgetting folks. Luft Discs is sending me their new Boreum disc to check out. So still a lot of people that help and support me, and I appreciate it very much. But no major sponsorship stuff for me. I'm not applying to teams or any of that stuff. It's just not really how I roll. The only reason I ended up on Team Upper Park is because I had the bags already. I enjoyed them so much that I ended up reaching out and asking, inquiring about that, and it was just a really easy boom. They thought it was a great fit, and it all just kind of came together. But I'm never really sending out sponsorship applications or anything. It's not really my style. You guys know I like to do my own thing. I'm testing whatever plastic I want. I'm throwing all the different stuff that's out there to try to bring that information to you guys. So it doesn't really make sense for me to be on a lot of teams and stuff, street teams or any of that kind of stuff. Okay, what else is going on? All right, well, let's just break right into it. So things that happened early on in terms of sponsorship stuff and changes that were happening on the pro level was Eric Oakley leaving Dynamic Discs and going to Infinite Discs. I think it's a good fit for Eric. I think he'll have a good time testing all kinds of different plastic out there, and having an open bag I think is a lot of fun. I'm not sure it's necessarily the most effective way to do it or not. There's kind of pros and cons and different thought processes from open bag or mixed bag, and compared to only throwing one manufacturer's plastic. It's probably a little harder to narrow it down when you're just throwing whatever you want. I've definitely found that sometimes over the years, where it makes it a little trickier to narrow down your bag, which is one of the most challenging aspects of building a bag, is kind of narrowing it down. There's so many options. I just saw a thing on Instagram that the PDGA approved 150 molds last year or something bananas like that. It's way too many. I mean, that's just way too many in my opinion. But there's a disc out there for everybody, and so people are trying stuff. They're putting new stuff out on the market. All kinds of new companies are popping up all the time, and so that's fun. But it is a little tricky when you have everything to narrow down what you want to throw, but it also gives you an incredible number of options to find this specific thing that really works really well for you. I find it's a little easier to dial in my bag when I focus more on just stuff that's made by Latitude 64. Those are my favorite plastics, a lot of my favorite molds, and so that's kind of just my thought process. But if I test anything that I can't deny is working better than something I already have, regardless of who makes it or whatever the case is, I will probably end up putting it in the bag, at least for a while, to test it and see how it goes. So Eric's throwing a mixed bag. I have no idea really what he's been testing so far. I'm sure he's trying out a lot of the Infinite molds, which are kind of rebranded Discmania molds, and all kinds of little things going on there behind the scenes with Infinite and Innova and all the molds they have, and changing names and all this kind of stuff. I think we're going to see more of that coming up next year as well, with now Discmania and Innova being fully split. So it's definitely an interesting time in disc golf right now. But all in all, I think it's a good fit for Eric. I think he was a great ambassador for Dynamic Discs. Did a great job at what he did, and he's a very likable guy. He's one of my teammates now. He actually was picked up by Team Upper Park, so it's cool to be connected with Eric a little bit there. I've met him. I've met Tina. I've played around with Tina many years ago, and I did a giveaway for Whale Sacks when she was still trying to grow the brand and stuff, long time ago at this point. And they're really nice people, and I don't have anything against them or anything bad to say about Eric Oakley. I wish him the best as a teammate of mine on Team Upper Park, and just a solid dude. And I think he'll have a good season, throwing a bunch of different plastic, and maybe revisiting stuff that he used to throw previously before his move to DD and all that stuff. And I think it was a pretty amicable split. And what we didn't know at that time was that they were going to make this big money move for Ricky and Kona Panis. So I wonder, how that all factored in. Did they want to keep Eric, but he wanted a little bit more money, and they didn't quite have the budget because they knew how big they were going to be splashing the cash to bring Ricky back in. We didn't know all that when the news first hit, so be interested to see what Eric ends up throwing, but I think it's a good move all around, and no problems there for me. Matty O has come to Westside, and then Nico left Westside. I actually was a little bit surprised that Nico left. I thought that relationship seemed to be going well. Not sure what his plans are going forward. Nico's been a guy who's proven that he can throw anything. He's had mixed bag sponsorships previously. When I first got involved with disc golf, Nico was one of the best players in the world. He was on Team Gateway. He was using Gateway putters, mids, drivers, but he was mixing in stuff from Innova and Discraft as well in those days. So he's no stranger to the open bag. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did that, if he just had maybe a big retailer sponsor like an Infinite or something along those lines and was just throwing whatever he felt like doing. Nico's kind of a free spirit. I thought it was a little bit of a risk to bring him onto the team with some of the the antics that Nico's known for and all that kind of stuff. But I think deep down, Nico's not a bad dude. I think he's just, he's been traveling playing disc golf professionally since he was like a teenager. Think about being 14, 15, and you're traveling and you're playing disc golf professionally, and now you fast forward and you're in your 30s and here you are still doing it, and disc golf's blowing up. It's got to be interesting to navigate all those things. So, I cut Nico plenty of slack. I don't think he's a bad dude. Some of his antics are kind of funny. The timing thing bothers me more than anything, if we're just being honest. The going way over time, grinding over the 15-footers for a minute or whatever, those really hurt to watch. And it's just some kind of a weird psychological issue that Nico's well aware of. And it's become kind of a meme now. But I have no idea what's happening with Nico, so no real news there, just other than the fact that he left. Kevin Jones re-signed with Prodigy, and he appears to be just about the only top guy that they're going to hold on to, or top player that they're going to go hold on to, because Dickerson announced leaving, and Katrina Allen left Prodigy as well, which is wild. She's been on the team for so long now. So yeah, pretty interesting to see how that all went down. I'm assuming Cale Laviska is still in there, and he's, kind of on the outskirts of the full-time professional scene. Cale, he's still very relevant and an incredible player in his own right, so he's definitely still a top player that they have, as far as I know. I didn't hear anything about Cale. Moving on, but yeah, we'll see what happens with Dickerson and Katrina. That has not been announced yet, and if it's some kind of really big move or a surprising thing, maybe we'll touch upon it in a future episode. But wishing them the best moving forward. A little bit weird for Prodigy to lose two high-profile players like that. Perhaps maybe some grumblings of them being frustrated with Kevin getting more money than them. But how anybody could objectively look at Kevin Jones and question any amount of money that the kid's going to get to go out and play and do his thing kind of blows my mind. His social media presence is huge. Does commentary. He's a fixture on the skins matches. He's playing music after the shows, or music and playing shows after events and stuff, and all that's going to correlate even more. And he's just an incredibly nice dude, handsome, very well spoken, incredibly talented, super fun to watch. I don't really see how anybody could be like, oh, Kev, how come Kev's getting more money than me? Think about it objectively for a minute, and I think you'll probably understand. Chris Dickerson's an amazing player, but he doesn't really play the game the same way. Now, I'm not talking about disc golf. I'm talking about the game of social media and of promotion and making sure that you're grinding out the tour, playing all the big events, being a fixture. We're always seeing you at all these top events, not just the ones that are easiest to get to or whatever. So we will see what happens there, but good for Kev. I was kind of hoping maybe Kev would go to a Dynamic Discs or something like that, and I kind of thought that might happen, but he re-signed a new deal, and he's going to be sticking where he's at, and that leaves us with Kona and Ricky going to Dynamic Discs. Now, the Kona thing definitely caught me off guard as well, just because, as far as I know, her dad is an executive with Innova, and so I never really would have expected that, but it's a huge move for her. She's getting a giant chunk of money, and we'll see how that all goes in terms of her actual play out there on the course, how she actually performs with the new plastic and with all this new pressure. She's got to have somewhat of a target on her back now, making this big chunk of change. I'm sure the other players want to go out and prove that they, they're still better than her, or in this way or that way, and all that kind of stuff. And a little bit of a surprising move there, but I think it's a good fit. Kona, again, extremely marketable, well-spoken, good player, and I think she's got a tremendous amount of potential. Still very young, still kind of learning things. So, seems like the short game is kind of an issue, but that tends to kind of happen pretty often in the FPO divisions. There's a lot of issues with putting and short range putting and stuff, which has always kind of confused me, and I think a lot of you guys would agree why that's such a problem. But Kona been a little hit or miss when she's making her putts. She's a great thrower of the disc, and she's right up there. But if she's having a bad day inside the circle, then it's hard to compete at that point. Just even as an amateur, people want to know like how to get better. How to beat your buddies. Say you're just a casual player, you just like to play with your friends on the weekends. What's the best way to go about trying to beat them? It's to make everything inside 20 feet. Like if you make all your 20-footers, watch how fast you rack up strokes on your buddies that miss a 20-footer a foot to the right, and then they have a 25-footer coming back and they miss that one. Like if you just hit all those short-range putts inside the circle, it's really interesting how fast you consistently will beat, rec fields and your player, your friends and stuff when they're not like solid players. And that takes us to Ricky. Ricky's coming home, as far as I'm concerned. That's when I really fell in love with Ricky. I was a fan already in the Prodigy days. I became a fan of Ricky during the 2014 Worlds. I got to watch a lot of his play out there. Milo in the earlier rounds, I was following his group. And then obviously the incredible playoff with Paul McBeth, which still kind of hurts a little bit as a Ricky fan all these years later. And it's funny with like Ricky and Paul how like one stroke here or there, and one of them could have more titles than the other, like a couple of strokes. Ricky doesn't hit that tree on the par 5 and they keep the playoff going. The next hole was a hole that Paul took like a 7 on or something. And Ricky was parking it with the forehand all tournament, as I recall. So we haven't, Ricky might have won then. And then, Ledgestone, it wasn't Ledgestone, obviously, but on the Ledgestone courses, the Eureka Lake Worlds that Paul won, Ricky was a couple inches away from throwing in and kind of basically doing what James Conrad ended up doing to Paul last year. So it's interesting how tight those margins are. One of the really fascinating parts of this story that came out on Smashbox that I didn't know about before that at all is that how close Discraft was to getting Ricky. And how weird that would have been. Man, could you imagine if like Ricky and Paul on the same team, throwing the same molds and stuff? Like how could that have worked? We were like this close to getting that and finding out firsthand how that was going to go, what that would be like to see the two guys, the two main guys on the team together. So that would have been interesting, but as it worked out, Ricky back to Trilogy and immediately seems to be picking up where he left off in terms of some of the molds. But I think as we go along, some of the stuff that he's using from Latitude's lineup in particular will probably shift to newer stuff that's made under the Dynamic Discs branding. We also know that Ricky's going to be getting his own line of stuff. So, is he going to throw the harp, or are they going to release an approach disc that he already kind of talked about, kind of a harp Caltrop hybrid, which is hilarious because I'm like a huge Caltrop guy, and then I switched to the harp recently. To have like Ricky decide to combine the two would be hilarious, and probably a disc I'll have to use, kind of slammer-ish, overstable thumb track approach disc. So will he continue to use the harps, or will he move to that and now it's under his branding? Will he continue to use the Explorer and the Compass and stuff like that, and that he used to have? Also, before he left, the last year before he moved back to Innova, his touring vehicle had the Pioneer listed as one of his signature discs as well, which is Firebird type disc. You guys know about, you've seen on my channel. I bag one. And will he use those? That never actually became his signature disc because it didn't release until after he left. But, is he going to use those, or is he going to use Felons? Are they going to create a new 9-speed, Firebird-ish type disc for Ricky, since he loves that type of disc? I'm sure he'd go back to using the Felons. Maybe we're just going to see, them figure out how to make the beefiest Felons they can, and he'll use those. Obviously the Opto X ones and stuff, or the Lucid X Felons, I'm sure are really beefy. I've not tested one of those, but I would imagine Rick would love that. So we're going to see. We're going to find out. The first discs that were released were a Dagger and the Royal Sense plastic that I've not, gotten a chance to try yet. Opto Explorer, and then Moonshine Harps. That I picked up a Moonshine Harp from the release day. Hopefully Ricky signed it for me, and I'll do an unboxing and maybe show that off in a review or something coming up here soon. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, Felons. The kind of Orbit Felon, which is kind of like a Halo, basically the Halo plastic from Innova reproduced by Latitude 64, and they're calling it Orbit, and the Orbit Felons came out as well, and I'm expecting those to already be kind of an overstable run for Ricky and his power, his forehand, and his ability to flex a fairway driver and stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. It's wild actually, because Dynamic Discs maintains the only real major manufacturer that works with me and really has worked with me at all. I've never had any contact with Innova. I've posted Innova reviews for 10 years. Tens of thousands of views on all those videos. I've never had any interaction with Innova at all. Same with Discraft. One time I reached out to Discraft when it was my 100th disc review. I reached out to them. They sent me 2 soft magnets that I did a giveaway for, which was cool, but that was it. Never heard anything else from them after that. And again, years later, a decade. I mean, my channel was called Discraft and Innova for years before I rebranded as the Disc Golf Nerd, and no real connection there. MVP had my reviews on their website at one point. Embedded on the page for the Inertia was my review. Never contacted me, never sent me anything, never shared a post. Kind of weird. But Dynamic Discs has been awesome, and they've sent me a ton of stuff, and I've worked with them for years now. I have a great relationship with Anthony. I'm starting to work with Eric McCabe a little bit. He's sending us clips. They couldn't have been more awesome to me, and now my favorite player, boom, goes to them, and it's just this is awesome for me. So hopefully as Ricky's lineup gets developed, I'll be able to show off that stuff early on in the process and help spread the word. And as a Ricky fan and having that connection in any way, it's just awesome. And I really almost hasn't really sunk in yet. I think once we start to see the molds, maybe when I get that harp in the mail, it'll actually kind of sink in what actually happened. It really happened. So fascinating stuff. Ricky getting $4 million for 4 years. I mean, I think he's worth every penny. I think they wouldn't be spending that kind of money if they couldn't, and they didn't see the value there. And disc golf is just blowing up, and a guy like Ricky could not be more marketable. Number 1 player in the world, multiple time world champion. Now he's really well spoken. Back in the day, he kind of wasn't. He had a lot of trouble with interviews. He's gotten leaps and bounds better at all that stuff now. And just one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. He's just a really goofy, jovial guy, really easy to hang out with, really easy to just kind of shoot the shit with him and just kind of mess around. I think the first time I met him was at a meet and greet at a Play It Again Sports, and we were playing Nerf basketball and stuff, and he's just a goofy guy who's just real easy to hang out with and real easy to like, is the bottom line. And that, coupled with the fact that he's the best player in the world, it's a massive move for Dynamic Discs. It's huge, and it could make all the difference going forward. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 5 years or so they are, right up there in terms of the absolute top companies in the game at this point. Other predictions, I think they'll be making their own plastic on American soil very, very soon. I think in the next 5 years, we will see Dynamic Discs and Emporia start producing their own plastic. I would be very surprised if that is not already well in the works. I kind of expect Latitude to be seeding some of the manufacturing over here. It just makes all the sense in the world. To continue to have to move this stuff over on containers and all that just doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't think that's going to continue on for very long. I think they're going to be at least making some of the dynamic discs molds on American soil here coming up very soon, if not the entire lineup under the watchful eyes of Latitude. Maybe they'll have somebody come over and help set the entire process up and get the ball rolling. I'm sure they are more than capable of doing so. And a lot of exciting things in the future for Dynamic Discs. So I'm excited to continue to have a good relationship with them and do our best to keep, helping each other out, helping support them, promote their brand, and they help support me and help to grow the channel. So it's all good there, and I'm just really excited. And to be perfectly honest with you guys, it's nice for me to have something to legitimately be excited about within disc golf. So many things happen, and it's just I'm either not that stoked on it, or I'm not overly excited about it for whatever reason, or I'm kind of not sure why anybody's super stoked about this or that, and I just don't get it. It's hard for me. It's sometimes with how much things change and seeing things that I liked in one way or another constantly evolving and growing and changing, and sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. It's nice to be genuinely just excited about something that happened. I'm a Ricky fan. He's coming back to the plastic that I like to throw. He's teamed up with one of my favorite companies, a company that's been really good to me, and it's just all good there. We'll see what happens with him. I think they're actually developing a Zuka for Ricky as well, so that should be interesting. I'm sure he'll continue to like to use carts as needed, and he's been a big fan of that over the years, so I think they'll put out an interesting product for him to rock through the Zuka DD partnership, so that should be interesting to see as well. We know Paul Ulibarri is also a Zuka sponsored pro, and I'm sure him and Rick are pretty tight still, so should be interesting how all of that kind of develops, how we see Ricky put together his bag, what stuff he chooses, what of the new stuff makes it into his bag. Does he just go back to throwing a lot of the same stuff he used to? He said, I believe, that he's holding on. He has held on to a few nicely worked in harps and some of those really nice older enforcers and stuff, so he should be covered in terms of that. But be interested to see how long it takes him to settle back into the plastic and be able to compete at the top level. And now it's time for the Upper Park Disc Golf Pick 9 question segment. I'm going to be answering 9 different questions about myself. These are not really disc golf related, even though disc golf might trickle in here and there based on the question. And let's get right into it. First question is, what is your favorite season and why? I'm going to have to say fall overall. I like fall very much because you get some of that colder weather. The air starts to get a little more crisp, and you still have some of those beautiful days in there where it's somewhat warm during the day, gets cold at night. You start to put on your hooded sweatshirt when you head out of the house, which I always like that time of year as well. I feel better in colder temperatures. Out doing athletic things, I typically feel pretty good when it's a little colder out. So I really love fall disc golf, and Oregon's beautiful. I love the changing leaves, and it's not so cold that I'm uncomfortable, and it's not really hot where I'm just drenched in sweat all day like I am out there on August or something on a really hot day out on the course. So I think fall overall. I really love winter as well, but in Oregon a lot of the times it's just really windy and rainy in the winter. We don't get a lot of really beautiful snowfall and stuff, so probably would change depending on where I live, but I've always really liked fall. Especially now that I don't have to worry about back to school anymore because I'm an adult. I can just enjoy fall fully now. Moving on, if you had unlimited money to start your own business, what would it be? I think it would have to be disc golf related at this point. And I think, if you're going to talk about unlimited money, I would create a really epic wooded private disc golf property with cabins, small restaurant, pro shop with all the different plastic that you would need, pay to play, but still something relatively inexpensive. Maybe do yearly passes and stuff for people that want to do that, and have accommodations there for people that want to make it a little bit more of a vacation style feel. Maybe have some luxury cabins in there for folks that want to travel in, or you just show up if you're local and play for the day for a set price. Unlimited money, you could do a lot of amazing things in the resort private disc golf facility aspect, and I think that would be something that I would strongly consider if I had the ability to do so. And of course, I live there, unlimited money, probably put together a nice four plus steel container shipping container home there, and that would be a dream for me. And then just hang out and play disc golf. That would be pretty cool. I think that would be fun. Really tie in well with the channel to have my own small course to be able to test plastic on and film other people testing plastic more likely as I get older and all that kind of stuff. So that would definitely be my thought process there. Do I sing in the shower is the next question. And yeah, I mean, of course, Rick James, Mary Jane's one of my go-to tracks. And really anything that's within my register, I'll at least try it. But yeah, absolutely sing in the shower. You can't see it here, but actually I have a hole in the wall here to feed power through into my bathroom on the other side of this wall to have a dedicated speaker set up in there just for that purpose, for music in the shower. Always been a thing. If you came back in your next life as an animal, what would it be? And I'm going to go with the arapaima. It is a very ancient species of freshwater fish found in South America. They get extremely large. They're very stealthy. They're beautiful, and just to have that experience of aquatic life would have to be something aquatic. And an arapaima, when they grow large, they're not really in the food chain. You know, you're not this fish here where you're bigger than all these fish, but then all these fish are bigger than you. The arapaima is kind of up near the top of the food chain. In the Amazon, I'm sure they still get, predated or whatever by something, especially when they're smaller and stuff. But a full-grown arapaima is an unbelievably strong and powerful animal. And yeah, very, very ancient, been on the earth for a long time, and that would be something that I would love to be able to experience in some way. On this crazy journey through this existence, do you hit the snooze button? Yes, I'm very well known for the snooze button. I've come close to being divorced over the snooze button. No, not really. But I am terrible about that. I will set my alarm an hour before I need to get up, so I can snooze many times leading into that sometimes, because it just helps me ease into it. I've never been my alarm's up, just jump straight out of bed. I don't wake up to alarms very well at all. And one of the best things about the last couple years of my life is not doing that hardly much at all, because I've been at home running this channel, doing other things to try to get by without having to punch a clock. It's been amazing. It's like all I ever really wanted was to not have to be stuck somewhere I don't want to be throughout most of my day. And who knows how much longer it's going to progress and what I can do with this channel, what disc golf might bring to the table, because it's basically all I really have going for me right now is all this. So, but yeah, snooze button. I'm bad about the snooze button. At a party, where can people find you? You'll find me most often in the basement playing music. Got this guy hanging out right here. Always been into that. If there's a party going on, I'm probably trying to arrange to have some jams happening, and if that's what's going on, that's probably where you'll find me, barefoot in the basement somewhere, maybe in the backyard, playing bass and having a good time, maybe playing some drums in the middle there as well. I'm also kind of notorious for, like, if I invite you to a party and you show up, I'll probably drift around. You'll never be able to find me, which is not awesome for some folks. Other than that, skill games, can jam, maybe some beer games, beer pong, that sort of thing. We play a game called Spinners. So yeah, I love skill games at a party, and I love playing music. Not one to just stand around, and it's not my favorite thing. Would you rather have your dishes or your clothes magically cleaned for you? This is a clear choice at dishes right now. If I did not have a washer dryer in my house, I may pick that just because of how obnoxious going to a laundromat is. But for now, dishes is the clear answer there. Do you believe time you enjoyed wasting is not wasted time? Yes, I absolutely do believe that. And I think one of the most kind of damaging aspects of modern life is that kind of rise and grind, go, never stop, never settle in, never sit and think about anything, like constant grind, modern American life. I really object to that. I think there's a lot of beauty in the space in between things, and I think that's also interesting because if you're the kind of person who's very mental, I live a very internal existence, and not all of my existence has to do with things I'm doing physically. I could be sitting in a chair and all of these things are happening in my head. I'm planning this, I'm planning that, I'm examining things that happened in my past, I'm examining interactions that I had, I'm pondering all kinds of different things, and to the outside onlooker, I'm just sitting there in a chair. So yeah, no, wasted time is not wasted if you are enjoying yourself, or if you just needed to waste some time, you just needed a break. That's okay. Give yourself that time to take a break, step back, and reevaluate things. A lot of times you get so caught up in the day-to-day, and I think that's one of the things that's happened with this pandemic. Everyone had to stop for a second, and all of a sudden, a lot of people looked around and didn't like what they saw when they really started to pay attention to what they were doing day in and day out. So take that time to step back and give yourself that time. I think that's hugely important for sure. Moving on, what's an essential part of your daily routine? Showers. I am a huge shower guy, and working from home, I've been showering twice a day, sometimes more if I feel like it, or if I do something that I get sweaty working out or anything like that, playing disc golf. Always a shower after a round of disc golf. You get in, get your boots off, hop in the shower, maybe bring a beer in there to refresh yourself. Well, man, showers are just the best. I mean, is there anything that you would miss more if you had to just start living out in the woods than a hot shower? I mean, what a blessing to turn on that water. Hot, clean, safe water comes out of there, and you can stand in it and take a shower, clean your body. It's the best. I absolutely love showers. I couldn't live without them. And what's the first thing you would do if you won the lottery? Final question. So, first thing I would do would probably be, call my dad, call my friends and stuff, let them know what happened. I might be slightly selective about who I called in that instance, just because, you don't want to necessarily blast it out there to everybody and have people come out of the woodworks that don't care about you all of a sudden and just want something from you or whatever. But call my dad, call my in-laws, my sister. That would be the first thing I did. In terms of the first thing I'd do with the money, I would probably buy land. Like we talked about, I'd put a steel container home on a piece of property as soon as possible, and I'd get out of Dodge. Kind of over being in the city sometimes, a lot lately as well. It's just been feeling that way as I get older. It's the first thing I'd do. I'd buy some land somewhere, make sure it had enough room to put at least a few baskets out there. Even if it was a 3-hole loop that I could play whenever I felt like it, would be incredible, be an absolute dream. And yeah, first thing I do, for sure, after calling people that I really love and I really care about and trust, to let them know what happened. And then I would definitely be buying gifts for people. I would for sure buy people gifts. I love to give gifts, and I love to be generous. It's tough to be poor and generous. I've never really had a whole lot to give away, but I love to do that whenever possible. So yeah, I would definitely buy some folks some stuff, just to put a smile on their face, and because I could, and be in a position to do so. That's my pick 9, and that's the end of the episode. I'm going to let you guys go. It's hot back here, sitting in front of this bright light. It's always a struggle. Thank you so much for your continued support. Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a great holiday season, and hopefully you guys will stick around and enjoy the stuff that I have to put out this year. I'm hoping to get much more back on track in terms of reviews. My review process was severely stunted last year for a number of different reasons, and I just really didn't get out there and test nearly as much plastic as I typically do and want to going forward. So that is definitely on the agenda. I'm trying to crack 300 full-length disc reviews here on the channel by the end of 2022, and should be able to crack 15,000 subscribers coming up here relatively soon as well. So that should be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to all of you guys for your continued support, and I'll talk to you very soon. Cheers.